The challenge of doing the 75th anniversary show was to tie in the old Madison Scouts and the new Madison Scouts, the present day Madison Scouts, and actually push the activity into the future at the same time. That was the real challenge. So we had to really think about creating the show using this template of Lone Survivor and how it was going to work. The show starts the moment you see the first Madison Scout enter onto the field. At that point, you'll see them doing push-ups, you'll see them running, you'll see them doing sit-ups, you'll see pods of people and squads and groups and platoons performing and doing various things, all while the Corps is setting up, getting ready for the show, setting that atmosphere of training, of what it takes to be in, let's say, Special Ops or the Marine Corps or the Army or the Navy. And you get a feeling of this boot camp type mentality. I really believe that we're giving a feeling of old-time drum corps. You're going to hear an old voice from the past, Joe Bruno, announce the group on the starting line from Madison, Wisconsin. And that's going to set the tone for the evening. That's going to put us in a place that's reminiscent of the older Madison Scouts and recognizing our past. At that point, the group will literally come all the way to the 30-yard line in a company front. And you'll hear, take the field of competition. As soon as they hit the 30-yard line, a gun will go off, starting the judge portion of the show. Then there'll be the rotation of that, what we call Great Gate from 2012. Will begin to rotate 45 degrees and burst into a fleur-de-lis. That really marks the second part of the show, the second segment, what I call graduation from boot camp or graduation from training. And there we actually honor these four main characters that we have in our show. You know, acknowledge them graduating from this training program. And there's this wonderful, glorious fanfare written by Robert Smith that will pull at the heartstrings, and he actually did this fanfare to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Drum Corps. After graduation, we launched these guys into really preparing for a real combat mission. You'll hear helicopters. You'll experience them being transported into a foreign land and trying to direct this thing. I'm thinking of, again, the Marcus Luttrell book, where we land this Navy SEAL team in the mountains of Afghanistan. And at that point, you know, you'll hear Night on Bald Mountain, the strains of what it feels like, the anticipation of possibly, you know, going into combat and meeting for the first time real fire, et cetera, and what that brings and stirs, the apprehension, the adrenaline, all the different emotions. And before we can even, you know, really come to grips with that, we're slapped into reality of all of a sudden we're confronted with battle. And the battle scene is an off-the-hook presentation in which we're really going to explore, and I'm going to push the Drum Corps, the Madison Scouts, into the future at that particular point of experimenting with all different kinds of body heights, role-playing, different levels of theatricality, where they're actually, you're gonna feel the combat mode of the men of Madison. And they're going to meet the challenges as they battle, and you're gonna hear gunshots, and you're gonna hear all kinds of things that are going to be motivating them, putting them through all the time while being at breakneck tempos that we're putting for this. This music is very special. We've actually pulled music from the video game world, from this piece called Afghanistan 2025. That's, I believe, part of the whole Modern Warfare series. And it's a piece in which is going to really push the brass line to different levels of performance this year, which we're very, very excited about. The battle because the percussion voice is so very, very important. They have to represent helicopters. They have to represent gunfire. They have to represent, it's actually a percussionist's dream to engage in this type of percussion playing. On the other hand, the color guard, who's been really being the central characters and the role players through this thing, they begin to get even more actively involved, featuring the 4 people that we highlighted at the beginning during the graduation ceremony. They become more and more coming to the forefront of this whole thing. At the end of the second percussion feature in the show, there is a great concussion where actually one of these 4 people perish in our kind of storytelling type way. At that particular point, reality sets in of maybe we are mortal, and we sense that in our characters. And the battle actually then picks up even more and becomes more fierce and more, it pushes a higher degree of velocity into the program. It infuses that to where it actually concludes the Afghanistan 2025 with 2 other people perishing within 8 bars of each other at the very end. So basically, out of these 4 characters, you have 1 lone survivor. And at that particular point, you hear a low drone. And with that low drone, you realize that this young man will never walk alone.